Welcome to the Living Consciously television show coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado studios. I am your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toth, and our theme today is how to have and maintain responsibility, integrity, and honesty in our lives. Let me introduce you to our guest cast as well as our entire Self-Evolution cast members today. Our guest cast today is Millie McGhee-Morris. She's an author and also a mentor. Welcome to the show, Millie.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you, and thank you for making that long flight from Baltimore.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
You're very welcome. And we also have Janet Cook.
Yep,
She also made a very long flight all the way from Aurora, Colorado, which is just, what, half hour, 45 minutes from us?
Give or take, and then you have the construction and red lights, yes, in town,
And
yes.
thank you for making that effort.
Oh, anytime.
Thank you for being here. And Janet also is part of our wellness and health and wellness evolution cast.
Correct.
And we also have Ninon de Verderosa, and she's joining us from Las Vegas, Nevada, and she's also part of our Self-Evolution cast. Welcome to the show, Ninon.
Hi, everybody. How are you, Steve?
How is that beautiful Las Vegas?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's only 113, so we're pretty cool.
Okay, great. And then last but, of course, not least, is Linda Dyer. She's also part of our Self-Evolution cast, and she is joining us from Australia down under. Welcome to the show.
I wasn't sure if I should stand on my head or not, but I guess I'm already down under. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us. All right, so our opening question, of course, goes out to our guest, Millie. And the question that I have for you that just is coming to me is, would you be willing to share with us and with the viewers when in your life you experience yourself to be irresponsible, out of integrity, or not being honest?
You know, I try my best to always be honest and always be in integrity. But I think that sometimes I don't listen to my inner spirit, my inner voice. And I think I can tell you that there has been a time that I did not listen to my inner spirit. And I don't think I came out of integrity, but I think that I had a chance to get involved with something that I normally wouldn't have had I not.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So what I'm experiencing for myself is that I'm constantly going out of integrity, honesty, and responsibility. So I'm in between, sometimes, most of the time being responsible, but sometimes being irresponsible. Most of the time being in integrity, but sometimes I'm out of integrity. Most of the time I'm honest and I'll tell the truth, but sometimes I do lies. And I feel, just for me, that that's part of our humanity. How does the cast feel about that, by the way? How do you feel about that?
I'm going to blame me on becoming, I was unconscious for many years, so probably was in and out of all that. So once for me that I became conscious and on my journey to really find out who I am, who Janet is, then those three areas were very conscious, and I do my best to be honest. And there are some times that when I say not being honest, I just withhold what I want to say. I'd like to say something, but you know the timing, and it may not be for me to tell that person because they need to be on their journey. So that integrity, same thing, you know. And what was the other one? The third one?
Responsibility.
Yeah, responsible.
The R word.
The R word. Yes, yes,
Well, you know,
yes.
I'm starting to understand what your question really was. Asking
Go
me,
for the unconscious. It works
well,
every time.
well, I tried very, very hard to be honest and have the greatest integrity. And my responsibility, I take very, very serious about when I'm given a responsibility to do something. But I can tell you there are times when I would say I would be dishonest, and it would be for my family. It would be, I feel like I have to save my family, or it's about not telling something I know that they did or could hurt them, or like, for instance, my son would ask me, "Mom, did you overindulge my sister?" Because I had a bad habit of giving more to her than I should have, enabling her to do whatever she wanted to do, and it hurt her. And my son, for years, has been telling me, "Mom, you're not telling the truth." And I would get very insulted that he would call me a liar. But when you really look at it, that's exactly what I was doing, because I wasn't telling him the truth, because I was going behind the doors and passing her money and letting her do whatever she wanted to do, which came back to haunt all of us with her life, even up to this date. So that I can say. But
So now you're taking responsibility
I'm
of what you did before.
I'm taking responsibility.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Okay.
That is
So that-
beautiful.
that
So-
was a very
You know,
unique
this
question.
truth, honest, integrity, responsibility is all a very fine line, and we're all caught in it. Everyone's caught in it. Of sometimes when you want to tell the truth, and you look at it and you think, well, shall I just say this, or shall I say that, or shall I be truthful? And it's all a very fine line, and I think we all go through it, and I think we all have it, but we all do have that choice of what we want to do, which is going to have a reflect on ourselves. I have a very unusual incident from my father. When I was very young, I probably lied to him, because he said to me, he said, Ninon, he said, you don't ever have to lie. And I'm only 12 years old or whatever. And I said, why? And he said, well, he said, because people do not believe the truth anyway, so why lie? You might as well tell the truth. And that stuck in my head to this day it's stuck in my head. So I've kind of been on that truthful line. Honesty, I'm very, very honest with people, because I will not do something if I feel I can't be honest about it, or if I can't be truthful about it, or my integrity will be slandered, and my responsibility will not be there. So I'm very careful when I say yes and no to what I can do for other people, or even to myself. So it's a fine line.
It is a very.
Aren't they all a fine line? I was just sitting here listening to you all and thinking, sometimes when we're feeling like we're being responsible, are we sometimes out of integrity with our own values? Or, it just made me think about a time when I was being responsible, and like you said, Millie, with the family. So you feel like you're stepping up and being that responsible person, and then you feel somehow there's not enough integrity or honesty happening with your career. Or, I'm just wondering if there's a fine line between all of those things, that when we're one of those things, that we can actually fall out slightly with the others.
You're right, yeah. It is a fine line of what you do at that particular moment. And what, Millie, you did with your daughter was actually you were taking a responsibility on for her and losing your integrity with your son.
my
So you
son,
were kind of caught right in the middle there.
Yes.
But you were trying to appease both of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me give a different example of, because I believe that all of us, want to make a difference in the world. And we can make a difference in the world by doing huge things, right, that everybody will notice. And we can make a difference in the world by making little things, noticing little things. And then when we do a lot of those little things, it actually becomes a big thing. So let me give you an example, my own example. So we have some house guests right now. And there's two people sitting in the kitchen, and there is oil on the stove, and it's so hot that it's burning. And whoever put it on happens to be being busy with the dryer and the washer. And I walk into the kitchen, and those two that are sitting at the table are not saying a thing. It's like they don't
probably
smell.
hadn't noticed it.
They don't
No
smell
idea what's going on.
the oil being burned. They completely, like, it doesn't exist. And I say something. Doesn't anybody smell that there is oil burning? And why is this on the stove? And what's happening? And then this lady comes over, the one that's messing with the washer and the dryer,
Right.
and says, "Oh my God, I forgot about it."
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, and then it turns out that then she gets a little bit upset with me because I said something. But so the quality of this, I just want to get to the quality of it, is that this happened to me a lot in my past, and people sometimes take it as I'm criticizing them, and I'm not really. All I'm doing is I'm just bringing something out to the front and to the open to let's look at it and let's see it. Because
Well,
I could just say nothing.
Let me give you a little something here, Steve. It's the tone of voice you're using And maybe if next time that happens, if you've been criticized with this a lot, maybe next time when you say it, put a smile on your face when you say it, and it'll come out completely differently, the same words. Oh my, what's happening? And then nobody will get upset and you won't aggravate somebody. But if you walk into a room and suddenly like, what's going on here with your attitude, they're going to get upset.
I'm not sure that he aggravated her. I think she aggravated herself by
Bingo.
realizing
Yes.
that she actually forgot that the oil was
you're
on the
right.
So she got mad with herself and decided. So Steve didn't need to take it on board at any time. But however,
But he did.
He needed to make it. He needed to make it aware, people aware, because it's his house. It could have gone up. So he was making people aware, and she took it on board as being something of less than in her world at that moment, and so she reacted, and Steve copped it.
Yeah, well, that's true. But
Yeah.
Steve did say that it's happened to him many times before.
Yeah.
So I assume that it's the tone of voice he uses, so you might have to just change the tone of voice. I don't know, but I would imagine.
It can be.
Yeah.
Either that or is he attracting people that have a lot of issues? Because I know in my... I just know I know from my own experience that when you talked with the young lady and made that comment, that wasn't you. That was her stuff. It triggered something in her life that's familiar, that has happened in her life previous. So it's really interesting of how that can trigger a behavior in a person that's unconscious. And it wasn't really your tone of voice or how you said it. It was the incident that in her body, it reminds her of some sort of emotional trauma she's had when she was 12 or maybe 18 or 19, or maybe that was her whole place in life, as she was always being criticized, that she was always burning the oil or she could never do anything right. And
this
when
was
you
always in front
mentioned
of
that,
people.
that
Yeah.
brings a whole bunch. That's her stuff. I call that
But
projection.
she got embarrassed because it was in front of everybody, and she didn't like that.
Right, that could be
was
too.
also her revenge was immediately, she put the thing up and sort of immediately put that revenge thing, to protect herself.
Right, and threw it back to Steve and say it was your fault for making
Well, I was
Steve,
actually
it was all your
concerned
fault,
about
Steve.
having the house not burned down.
Well, that would
At the
be a
end
good
of the
one,
day-
hot oil.
That was my concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
would think so.
And
Rightfully
it's
so,
just,
Steve.
what I'm saying is it's just interesting because the quality that I wanted to bring out in this conversation or in this dialogue is that there are people sitting at the table and completely are ignorant to it.
Or unconscious.
And-
Or oblivious, oblivious of what's going on
oblivious.
around.
And what I want to say about that is that there are millions of people in America right now that are sitting around and being completely oblivious and ignorant about what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I
Okay?
agree.
And what is that has to do with what? Does that has to, because I'm noticing it, is that because I'm on this conscious,
Journey?
path
Plan. Yeah, you are.
or journey, and I'm noticing more things now than I have ever before. That's true.
More
But
landscape.
sometimes I
You're more
wonder.
aware.
Sometimes I wonder if people realize that they have a responsibility, not just to themselves, but also to the country, to what's going on. So they sit and they wait for somebody else to do the job. Just like, for instance, if I'm unhappy about something that I feel needs to have a change, I write my congressman or I write the president. But how many people do you think really feel like it's their responsibility to report or their feelings to someone that's in charge of making the laws?
I do, all the time. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm with you too, but that's why my philosophy has always been that we complain about the governments, the Democrats, the Republicans, and everybody else. So why are we all sitting back and not saying anything or doing anything? There's more of us in America than there are people in politics. Well, maybe, I don't know. I sometimes wonder. But there's more of us, so why don't we just get up and talk if we don't like? I mean, after the fact, yes, we can say we don't like it, but why don't we do something before the fact?
That's true. That's what I was talking to Steve about. People sitting back and allowing their congressman, their senator, and everybody speak for them. I wonder if sometimes when they're saying my constituents said this, and I'm wondering how many of them said that. So we sit back and feel like we can't say anything, and we should be able to say something. If someone gets up in your district and says something and you didn't say it, then you should get a pencil and paper and you should write and say what you mean. We have voices, but we don't know we have it.
And that's where it comes in, Steve, about responsibility. We all become non-responsible to our own country.
The sad thing about that is, though, that the least responsibility we gather within us, the more at effect we are. And for me, again, listening to you ladies, it's about socialisation. In a way, it's the way we were raised, not to speak up and, speak when you're spoken to and all this sort of stuff. And, how often were we asked for the truth or did we just say something to get away with it? It was like, phew, I'm going to say something so that I can get out of this because I know how they're going to react. And so that becomes a habit in their life, and as an adult, nothing changes.
That's
but
right.
Responsibility is being a cause in your world, and that's huge for a lot of people.
And you're right about when you're a child, I was always brought up to be seen and not heard for 16 years, and then when I left home, I obviously have changed that. I have a loud voice out there now. But it took me a little while, but I did not want to be quiet. It took me a little while, but there was always that seen and not heard and behave yourself, arms off the table, the whole bit, and, you can't move left or right and all this stuff. And then when you grow up, you realize that, wow, there's a world out there, and I do have a voice. Unfortunately, I found it, so it was, but you're right, Linda.
So there's this other quality that I also wanted to bring to the front, which has to do with, and again, a personal example from my own life, is when we, interesting. So let's talk about, how many times has anybody here on this show today has been conned?
Conned?
Mm-hmm.
I have.
Huh.
Okay.
More than once. More than once.
Anybody over there in Australia and Las Vegas?
Yay!
Well,
Yay,
Las Vegas, I've been conned, of course I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I allowed it.
And when you were conned, what was the one thing that made the con man or con woman successful?
I don't know if the person that conned me, I would not say they were successful, because I would definitely say, well, if they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to... I reported what happened to me to the FBI, so that's how far it went for me. And I don't know how they can live their life, how they live their life, but I put that onto their problem. I took responsibility of what happened to me, of my ignorance or my stupidity or whatever anybody wants to call it. But I did report it because I didn't want other women to get involved in this particular thing that went on. And also I wanted him notified whether anything would ever happen to him in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is a very different place and people are very quiet about a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of people involved in a lot of stuff that goes on here. So whether it goes anywhere, I don't know. But at least I feel free and I feel easy. Yes, I got conned. Okay, so then I did the next step by... I don't know whether this was to make myself feel good, which it probably was, to report it.
Okay, so I'm still, I got it, but I'm still looking, thank you, Nina, but I'm still looking for something that I haven't heard yet, which is whatever was happening between you and this person that was conning you, there's something inside of you that basically said yes to something.
Well,
I believed him.
Let me tell you what happened to me. When I got conned, like I said, more than once. The first time, I didn't do what Nina just said. I kind of just walked away because I felt like I needed to just not hear that and just keep moving, because I was working on a project that I didn't want to have something stop it. So I walked away. And then the second time, the same person came back again and did something else. And I said to myself, I really wanted to be able to meet Oprah. I have to say it. And so everybody was saying to me, in your work, Millie, does Oprah know? Does Oprah know? And I just didn't know how to get to Oprah. So I said, oh, I wish I could. But I've never been a person that was starstruck or fall down because somebody say they know Tiger Woods or whatever. I just think that people...
Just have them call me, then we'll talk.
You know, but I really, truthfully, it never made me make a decision based on name. I didn't like name dropping. I never liked people that name drop, because I'd rather you just come to me and offer what you have to offer and let me find out that you know Tiger Woods and you know these stars. So
the person that
for a
called you,
long time,
was it a big name? Was it a big name?
well, yeah, Oprah, for a long time, I just didn't listen to it. I just moved on with my project. But this time, which is recently, I really thought it was time in my career to meet Oprah, because I felt like I'd done my groundwork, and I was at the point where my work was capable, I was capable to show it to her, to pitch something to her. So I got all excited about this big picture of Oprah supposed to be the special guest at this event, and bought into it, spent a lot of money to meet Oprah. And the person that was scamming me or conning me did not say that Oprah to me, and she knew that I was saying it to everybody, 150 people, all these new authors that I was bringing on, that I was going to meet Oprah. Never said once that, oh, girl, Oprah's not coming. Ooh. But it was, I have to admit, I was a stupid one, because maybe down somewhere in the fine print, she had one of Oprah's guests coming. So that's what I was talking about. Well, why Oprah's picture? Now, why not your guest? Why not have? I mean, well, how would you feel? How would you feel if you was Oprah's guest on her show, and you were going to be at an event to speak with somebody, over 150 people, and they were sending out advertisement about you coming as a guest speaker, and the person that they're showing on the paper is Oprah, a big picture pointing special guest, Oprah. Right. And here you are, the special guest. How would you feel?
Well, that happens a lot, unfortunately. That is one of those things.
That's a con.
Well, it is a con, actually, but that also in the celebrity world and the political world, and when it's somebody very high up there, they do turn around and do that, but they keep the advertising going all the time of who they Oprah is going to be there, and then at the last minute she can't turn up, and they do that an awful lot, and that is really unfair, and I really feel sorry for you, Millie, but that does happen a lot.
I feel sorry for me too. It was awful.
It was awful. But you should tell Oprah what you went through just to get on there, and then go on Oprah.com.
But you know, out of that, I could have walked away. This time I felt like I'm not walking away, and not because of me, but because of almost 30 authors, new writers, people that I'd worked with that knew my integrity, knew my honesty. I had to stop whatever I was doing and fight. I had to do what I needed to do to get Amazon or whoever to take that step. Good. And that's what I did. And I'm really proud of it.
What are the consequences? What has happened?
Excuse me?
What has happened? Have you had any feedback
well,
on what?
I found out that Amazon took the book down. That my copyright was infringed upon. Oh. And this book was selling all over Amazon and all over the world. And Linda knows about it, because Linda is one of the writers. So she wrote it in the book, and I don't know if I was the one met with Linda or the other person that is the con that worked with Linda. But I knew that I had a responsibility to Linda and to all of the ladies that paid their money to write in a book, a project that I brought forward. And
so you feel very responsible. Your responsibility
I felt very
is intact.
responsible. Yes. And
good for you.
I do.
Good for you. Good for you. And your integrity too.
Yeah. You did the right thing.
I think
and your truth and your honesty. So we just covered all four.
Show done.
I was just going to say, I think the whole three came in and worked, and so it became bigger than Ben-Hur, because everything in your mind was being compromised.
Absolutely.
So what would you advise for somebody else not to go through that, Millie?
You know, you have to really feel the responsibility of other people that you bring on board, and you have to really believe in yourself. And it was hard. It was really hard, because I believe Linda was on her way to visit me, to meet me in person. And it was just so much drama. I was telling Steve at dinner, I cannot stand drama. I like being peaceful. And I think it stemmed back from when I was a child. When I was a child, I saw, my father was a Baptist minister, and my mother and father got in an argument. I must have been about 10 or 11 years old. And the first argument I've ever seen between my parents, it just blew me away. I ended up seeing myself curdled down on the floor, and I see that all the time. I cannot stand drama and people getting angry and saying mean things to each other. I cannot stand it. So I know what I have to do to save me. I have to stay and be me. And that's the way I am. I will not deal with you. If someone called me, and Steve and I was joking also about women. He was saying that he had all these women that works with him. I met them today. They're beautiful and they're lovely. They work with him. And I said...
And we love Steve.
And he asked me the same question somebody else asked. Millie, how did you pull together 100 women to work together? And I said it was hard. It was hard. But you know what? I have to say this. The women that wrote in the book was 46 women. Most of those women that contacted me and talked with me were wonderful women who I will have friendship with the rest of my life. One woman, which is the one that did the conning, started it just takes one, started the whole ball rolling when it could have been an awesome, awesome experience. And I'm hoping that we're able to pull ourselves back together and get that spirit back and do what this vision was meant to be.
That's funny. I was in a book with a woman. Edie Han wrote a book when there was 40 women in it, called True Grit, and it's fascinating. She had the same thing with all these women, you know, getting them all together and everything else. But fortunately, she didn't have a problem. Well, I think she did have a problem actually. She had a problem with her other writer, but it all worked out. Whatever happened. But yeah, it's fascinating. I don't know about your book, but I'd love to see your book.
Well, you know, I was telling Steve, I'm working now with 50 men. Well, it's going to be 100. I'm working on 100. And I was telling him that I met with one guy, and he's Caucasian, and he said, are they all black? And I said to him, no. Because when you're writing a book with a group of people to inspire the world, it has to be...
the world of people.
That's right, everyone. And so it's been absolutely a joy working with these men that are writing and sending back and talking to me, and their stories are just as powerful as those women.
Is it as easy to work with the men as it is the women, or is it just completely different?
Absolutely easier to work with men. Men don't have all the
Drama
that us women have, and we're working on it. The women that I have band myself with,
And they don't have claws as big.
Yeah, yeah.
Good Lord alive. Yes, they do.
Yeah. Well, the women that are a part of our vision, we have decided that there will be no drama, that what our purpose is to help other women. And I'm hoping that this will start women to really look at each other and say, you know what, we need to love each other. When we see each other look good, we should say, girl, you look good today, and not feel bad about it.
Do you think men and women, do you think men are more truthful and honest and have integrity and responsibility more than women?
Yes, I do.
Really?
I do. Because I've worked with men and I've worked with women, and I've gone to many events where it was all women. And there's one event that now I am the president of the chapter, which is, you don't mind me saying, NAPW. That group of women are, to me, the most loving. I've been to 3 conferences now, and every woman that walked into my space were absolutely a joy. And that's saying something, you know, because
wonderful.
that was one of my pet peeves, was that I don't want to go to any more events with women because they act like you're going to steal something from them. You know? It's enough here if we can meet each other. I can give you my card, you give me your card. But it was just, and that's what it is. It's the jealousy, it's the backstabbing, talking.
Yeah.
I just hope that one day we get past that.
Those are unconscious women. Get to the ones that are conscious.
Okay.
They need conscious and PW.
Responsible.
Right, exactly.
I don't want to know them. I don't want to know that they can't be honest and truthful and have the integrity. I don't want to deal with them. I just don't.
I don't either.
No.
Okay. So
What about you, Steve? Do you want to deal with them?
So I had an experience recently too that was similar. That I was I can't say that I was being conned, but I was let's say enrolled in a possibility, and I allowed myself to be enrolled in a possibility, and it was about name dropping, and I did buy into it, and I said yes to it, and deep down my intuition was telling me that this is probably not the right thing to do.
Somebody didn't listen.
That I shouldn't do it, and I did it anyway because I could already
ego?
tell. Yeah,
Yeah.
my ego said, but Steve, there's all these big names involved, and for all your life you wanted to have these big names involved in your network and everything that
They
you do.
don't come that fast.
And here's the opportunity. You've been working on this for 10 years. It may be your time. And since this is showing up, well, yeah, let's just forget that I'm feeling that this is not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just forget that, okay? We don't want to hear that, so let's just shut it off and let's go for it anyway. So the lesson learned is it didn't work.
But let me say this, Steve. You and I both, I was all over, oh God, I'm going to meet Oprah. Oh, finally. But you know what? When you're honest, you went into that. Sure, you and I both went into it because of whatever, but you went into it honestly. I mean, you thought it was a real legitimate deal. So did I. So when you do that, I firmly believe this, that the universe turns in your favor. Because I think that what you wanted from that is going to happen for you in bigger. And I'm going to meet Oprah. Oprah is going to be the one that goes to Africa with me. I already know that.
Well, she goes there all the time. You just got to get on her plane.
I got to pitch the idea. I said to one of my other friends, when you talk about name dropping, you say you could use my name. If you want to say Miss Millie to get in a door, that's fine. You could do that. But when you open that door, what do you have to offer? Can you really deliver? That's the key.
Well, you have to have integrity for that.
Integrity. Mm-hmm. So when that door opens for me to meet Oprah, I got to be able to deliver. And I'm going to be ready. So I didn't let that, I just believe, I have that strong belief and faith that if you get taken the way we got taken, there's something even better for us. Because
that's true too, but in Steve had that gut feeling, and he just didn't listen to that gut feeling because he said he truly knew that it wouldn't work. He really knew it wouldn't, but he was going to go for it because his gut feeling told him that.
Now, see, Steve, remember, I was on the show and you couldn't see me, and there was a question about somebody else's integrity and if their integrity is 100%. And you did that. If you went into it with her integrity being not good, I don't think this is going to work, then you did make a mistake. Because I will never go into any kind of dealings with anybody if I don't think that they're going to be the top of their game. I got to think that about them in order for me to be at top of my game.
Yeah, but sometimes you've got to take, if you're in business and you're out there and you're doing stuff, sometimes you take that little gamble and that little sort of, you edge along and you take that and, to sort of, push yourself along, which is what Steve did. Steve actually, his gut was telling him one thing, but at the same time he's thinking, wow, this could be really good and it could be really, so he went along with it, which is a great thing because he learned a lesson.
And
so nothing was lost.
Yeah, but how do you ever know for sure if you don't say yes to whatever experiences are coming to you?
But you got to feel that it's gonna be a positive experience. I learned that from this. You got to feel that it is worth it. But if you had a voice inside of you that said, from now on, Steve, it's
Yeah, but they could all be saying, so what's he going to do then?
So let me ask you then. So do you believe in the laws of attraction?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so since we're talking about responsibility, integrity, and honesty, what is our responsibility in laws of attraction that we attracting the kind of people? So if I asked you the question, what is it about you, Millie, that attracted this person to you? What is it about you? Not about her, about you. And what is it about me that attracted this person to me?
I think we both would say the same thing. I think that my career, my business had come to a level where I was ready to meet Oprah. That's what attracted me. I felt I had worked 20-something years to get to this point, to be able to have something to offer her. And I was ready. And I think that's the same thing you felt. I mean, what was waved in front of you you know, it was hard to say no because, wow, this is what I've been wanting. And it was like, oh, it's got to work, it's got to work. So you're overpowered. That's what I think. I think it's your career was at that point where that's what you had been dreaming or wanting to do.
Millie,
and it
I'm
would be
sure,
perfect.
Yeah, Millie, I'm sure everybody out there, our audience, want to know, what is this thing you want to present to Oprah? None of us know what... I mean, we might know, yes, because we've read about you, but I don't know if anybody else out there knows. Why do you want to see Oprah?
Well, I did something like Roots, Alex Haley. I did over 15 years of research looking for my family history. And I found that J. Edgar Hoover is truly my grandfather's, not second cousin like my grandfather thought, but first cousin. And so I did my work. I got it to completion and getting ready and did my DNA and getting ready to go to Africa with a group of people to walk on the lands of West Africa to see the tribe where my grandmother at 16 years old was taken and brought to this country as a slave.
Oh, wow.
And I just feel like that's something Oprah would do well.
And what's this Edgar Hoover bit? Where does that all come in?
J. Edgar Hoover, the former FBI director,
Yes.
was actually, I would say this, I'm not going to say he was black because he wasn't. I'm going to say that he passed for not having that drop of blood, that Jim Crow, I don't know if many of you know about Jim Crow law, said back in the day that if you have a drop of black blood, you're biracial, you're black. So the drop of white blood don't matter. So I can't decide that I want to be white because I got a drop of white blood, but if I have a drop of black blood, I'm black. So J. Edgar Hoover had more than a drop of black blood in his veins, and he went for many, many years as a white man.
Wow.
And be honest with you, the African Americans, we're fine with that. He can stay white because he's my cousin, but he didn't have good responsibility. He did not have honesty or integrity.
He didn't have integrity.
In my book. He did some good things, and I'm a type of person, I want to always be honest. He did some good things for us, for the FBI. We have a wonderful FBI department right now, and he did a lot to make that happen. But he had a lot of hatred. He is responsible for a lot of the hatred in this country today.
So he didn't take the responsibility on it.
Right.
That's really interesting because as you're talking, Millie, what comes to me is I'm wondering if at that time, because that was many, many years ago when Neil Boy was alive, imagine what the culture was like to be in that predicament. Not that I condone it, but look at people that are gay, that are right now just starting to come out and be who they are. So I'm wondering if what he was experiencing, there was a lot of confusion, and that was the way he could survive.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't happy with it. He probably wasn't, but that was the way he was able to survive. So
you almost got it hit on the head, but you know what? He preferred to be gay than to be black.
Who?
J. Edgar Hoover.
He was gay too?
He preferred to be. I put it that way.
Well, there's a man. Okay.
Yes, he preferred to. Yeah, there is a man.
I'm learning a lot of history today. I didn't know that. Wow, was that in the archives too?
That's in the archives. Yes, of course.
Oh,
That's in the
wow.
history. It's a deep piece of history, and I look forward to one day bringing it to the people so that they could see the truth, the real truth. And the movie that Clint Eastwood did called J. Edgar, I did write that writer and tried to reach him even with my agent to tell him that I'd like to collaborate because I felt like it was time to do that, but the Spirit said it wasn't. I think the time is now that I've finished everything for us to do this.
Yeah, Oprah's going to like that. That's a good story.
Yeah.
That really
Yeah,
is just the
thank you.
history alone.
Yeah, you've got a great story there.
Yeah.
Incredible story. I mean, goodness gracious me. So at least now we know. Now we know the direction we're going in with you. Awesome.
It's pretty good.
That was truth, honesty, integrity, and responsibility.
That's it, all together.
All at once. Oh, wow. This is great.
All right, so let's just see if we could maybe help our viewers a little bit here. since we way past more than half the show, what could we offer to the public that would help people to manage themselves in terms of their responsibility, being responsible, being in integrity, and being truthful?
Do you know, what I would really like to see happen with parents is to encourage children when they say they would like something, to encourage them to go for it, rather than that continual conversation of, we can't afford it. Because I think that's irresponsible. And it may be that you look at your bank account and you can't afford it, but when you say that to a child, and you say it over and over again, you put blinkers on for a child to become responsible for the rest of their world. They think that they can't afford anything, and so they don't become responsible for setting goals and achieving anything.
Very true.
And that's a real bandwagon that I've been on. And there's so many examples that I can give you where we've changed that. And one lady said to her daughter, she said, Mum, but I want to do that. I want to be responsible for my own music lessons. And the mother said, well, we can't afford it. And she said, you don't have to afford it. I've already worked out how I can do it. But the mother wasn't listening. And then finally she listened, and the daughter told her all the things that she'd worked out on how she could make it happen. So that's one statement that I believe would help change that this, we can't afford it. Because it goes all through our life, and then they come to us as coaches when they're in their 40s and 50s, because they're still saying the same thing. They're stopping future goals because they think we can't afford it, rather than sitting down and working out a plan of how can I make that happen. And writing out points and only focusing and being responsible for the energy that allows you to just make that happen, because it will. Through the law of attraction, it absolutely will.
Well, and you're right about the parents, and I think parents really, really have to become more responsible for these children, and sometimes maybe not their own children, but even, helping other children. These are our future leaders in the world, and we are continuously saying to them that to be quiet and you're stupid and no, you can't do that. Exactly what you just said, Linda. And this is going through them, and they're all ending up on these iPods and these texting and everything else and having no communication. Parents aren't coming in and being responsible for these human beings, which they are from the moment they're born, growing up and becoming part of the world, and they are falling by the wayside on that. So children are becoming what we are actually teaching them, which is nothing.
Well, I think that many of us, not just the children, end up in jobs that we hate. And we're unhappy most of our lives. And I think that children need to be taught at a young age that they can decide, with our help, on what they want to do in life and what they really enjoy doing. Like if they like drawing, we need to cultivate that and figure out a way. And also to get back to school, college and school. A lot of the kids don't want to go to college because they feel like that's not going to help. Like, for instance, my granddaughter, she felt like it's not going to help her career because she wanted to go into photography. So can I go to a college where just teach photography? And I think we're getting to that in this country, starting to understand that the kids want to follow into a career that they love, that they want, and then you'll have a better country, because you got people getting up, happy, singing, going to work. Can you imagine getting up, going to something you hate, and then and that's what I've noticed. I noticed a lot of people hate their jobs.
But that's funny you should talk about going to, in England we have technical schools, and you can actually go, or you can have apprenticeships. And you can actually go into, a hairdressing. You want to be a hairdresser. You can actually do a 3-year apprenticeship in a hairdresser and get all your certificates and everything and become a hairdresser. And a CPA, you can go into a CPA office without going to college or anything. Or you can go to a technical school and learn just one particular thing you want to do. So we do have that, and that definitely is coming to America. It's actually quite big in America now. So that is one good thing we're doing.
Right.
I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually told my son not to go to university. I said, you're still on holidays in your head, so you'd be wasting my money and their time. So why don't you just go out, grow up, experience life, and then
Go make some money.
When you really have sorted out what you want to do, then come back and we'll talk about that. And that's exactly what happened. Because I went through the American university system, but I worked for 4 to 6 years here in Australia. I worked 4 jobs for 4 years to put myself through that system. And when the teacher spoke over there, I had something to say because I had gone out and worked physically. Does that make sense? So I had that experience of working in the field first, whereas I noticed the other guys in the class hadn't gone out, so they had no experience so that they took everything that the teacher said to be accurate from a book rather than, and I'd put my hand up and say, well, actually, that doesn't hurt. That doesn't actually work practically. And it was because I'd actually been out there, so I'd encourage it. And like you, Nina, out here, you can go out and become a nurse or a hairdresser or something and go to college 1 day a week. So you're getting your education and working with somebody, mixing the practical with the theory. Wonderful.
It is. We're talking a lot about the young people, Millie, and I noticed you have Young Talented Achievers Incorporated. What's that all about?
Oh, in 1984, I founded the Young Talented Achievers for the city of Los Angeles, and it turned into like the Latchkey. I don't know if you ever heard of the Latchkey children.
Oh, absolutely.
That was Miss Millie, and in 2002, I received $150,000 from the state of California to teach reading to children, their parents, and grandparents, non-reading children. So that was an award that I set up for kids that were failing, so to speak, struggling. The kids that, I felt like the kids that were making A's and B's and 4.0s, and they had a chance to get into college. So I just felt the need to reach down and put a lot of energy into children that felt they weren't able to do well, to show them that they could.
I'm surprised I don't know you, Millie, because I had a TV show in Los Angeles for 16 years called Voices of Tomorrow. And I was filming out of Beverly Hills High School, but I went to everywhere, inner city, outer city. I was all over the place with children. I'm surprised I didn't meet you.
Wow. Well, I was trying. Now I'm glad we met each other.
Yeah, there you go.
Good.
All right, so this is quite interesting. So I was thinking as you were talking that something that recently occurred at my house again. We had some visitors, and this kid, 11 years old, and I was having a conversation with him, and I found out within 5 minutes what his passion. Believe it or not, at 11 years old, this is a boy, his passion is obviously football, because that's what he's doing, but in addition to football, his passion is finance. And we ended up having a conversation about, I asked him, like, do you know who's the most powerful corporation in the world right now? Who has the most worth in the world? Within 2 seconds, he told me. And I said, wow, how did you know that? He says, well, because he's reading up on this stuff, and he's on the internet and checking things out. And I said, well, what do you think you want to be when you grow up? Because I was after what you were talking about a few minutes ago, I wanted to know what his real passion is. And he says, I want to work on the stock market, and I want to be helping people, and I want to make people money. And I said, really? Well, what do you know about the stock market? And he knew some stuff. And I said, have you ever wondered what it would be like for you at 11 years old to be able to have an account and actually play on the stock market? He says, no, I didn't know I could do that. I says, well, I'll make it happen for you right now. So I signed him up on an account, and he's got $100,000. This is not real money, it's play money.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as everything else, in terms of how the software works, and in terms of what you have to do and the videos that you can watch, how to actually buy stock, how to sell stock.
That's good.
And he's been calling me ever since then, and he says, and I said to him basically, please call me in about 90 to 180 days from now and tell me that you doubled my investment of $100,000. And he said, I will do it.
That is
And
so
Steve,
awesome.
that's an example.
That's so
of,
awesome.
Yeah, that's an example of what we're talking about parents or even not parents helping the children. It doesn't matter who it is, but what you have just changed that boy's life. I mean, for the rest of his life. You just changed within just a 5-minute conversation, but actually showing him and actually doing it for him and putting him in that place. You have just done amazing things, Steve, and I take my hat off to you for that.
And because you didn't put a condition on it.
No.
You didn't say you can't do that because you're only 11, or you can't do that because you're black or you're white. You can't do that because you're fat or you're thin. And how many times, and I think that's where we become, or we can become irresponsible, is by putting a condition on other people's opportunities or other people's perspectives.
Steve didn't do that.
Yeah, that's exactly
Well,
right.
I'll tell you a situation that happened with me, and Linda, you may be able to help me because actually I'm looking for Michael. Michael Ross, and his mother became I call her my BFF in Australia, Sydney. She came to America with her husband and her daughter and her son. And before she knew it, her husband had figured out a way to send her back to Australia. And I was chosen to be her son's 6th grade teacher. And I went into the classroom for my interview to meet the parents and the students. And Michael jumped up and ran out the door. And I thought, what happened? And so I was just getting this assignment. So I thought, oh, they're going to fire me. They're not going to hire me for this year. So I went home very depressed because I didn't know what happened. I just walked in the classroom. So the next day, his mother called the principal and said, I want you to call that teacher back. I want her to meet Michael and I privately. So they met with me privately, and she told me the story that a woman looked almost like me, African American, when her husband sent her back to Australia, took her identification where she couldn't come back to the country, and moved into her brand new house, furnished it, took Michael's room, made it out of her son's room. So this little boy at 6 years old was crushed, and he saw this black skin come in to teach him, and he was not having it. So he sat there as she told me that story. So I began to talk to him, and I said, Michael, I would like to tell you something about me. And I said, something like that happened to me, but it was a white person. I said, so should I hate white people because that one person? I said, I'm not telling that you have to love the lady that hurt you. I said, but you can't take your life and just be hateful. Do you know that, to make a long story short, I ended up moving in the same apartment building. Michael became a very good friend of my son's. I love Michael, and today he would be almost 30, and I dream to know what he's doing only because of something he drew in class. We had art time. And I walked around the class, and he drew a picture of him with the Tommy gun, shooting his father. And I had to lecture him again and say to him, Michael, you can't do that. Because what happened to you, I won't have a friend anymore. You'll be in prison. And I never, to this day, got over that picture that he drew. So as a teacher, here I am a teacher. Usually the students are looking for the teachers. I'm looking for my students.
This little student has a lot of hatred in him.
Yeah, it would give me joy to find Michael
And
running a
help him.
corporation,
Yeah,
doing
okay.
something well.
Great. Well, hopefully.
We had
hopefully
some
you will.
twins nearly in a course of goal achieving, and these twins, and they had to draw their goal rather than say what it was. And one of the twins drew himself, and there was computers everywhere and desks, and he was going to be this big corporate manager. And the other twin, like you just said, drew a gun. People were dying all over the top of this building, and there was blood everywhere. And I'm going, oh my gosh.
God.
When one twin saw the other, he turned around and he said, if you show that to Dad, he will kill you.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that interesting? You talk about responsibility, that a statement like, I will kill you if you do that, has ended up becoming something that a kid draws out. He expresses it out through a drawing. And I'm talking to the other teachers saying, we need to turn this around, And I'm thinking, and then all of a sudden I said, I know who you want to be. It's got to be an actor.
Oh, good for you.
Only actors do something like that, where
That's
people
good.
are falling off buildings. And he said, yeah, that's what I want to be, an actor.
That's good. That was a good one.
That was a very good one, yeah.
Well, but it reminded me. However, think about it. It went back to a saying from the parent. You know, the parent said, "I'll kill you," and so all this guy had inside of him is him killing someone. He took it on verbally. Mm-hmm. So again, are we being responsible? And the statements that we say, and because we say them over and over and over
Linda,
again, it's like they're implanted.
I'm sorry I got to cut you off, but we just did another conscious hour. And the conscious hour is gone bye-bye.
Wow.
And I just want to make sure that I thank Millie for being here with
pleasure.
us and coming in from Baltimore. And also I want to thank the entire cast being here with us and having this great dialogue with us today, this afternoon, and also all the viewers as well as the entire crew behind the glass. And if you were touched, moved, and inspired by anything that we have said today, or the way we showed up, or something that you got that really inspired you, please come to livingconsciously.tv, to our website, and interact with us there, as well as just leave some comments on our website and let us know what would you like to hear about. So other than that, of course, I love you all, and we'll be here again next week, same place, same time, always at 3 o'clock Mountain Time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Millie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Millie.
Thank you.